If unity is going to be a reality, there are certain characteristics that we have to have. Notice those characteristics in verse 2. Look at them carefully. First, we must have what? Lowliness. What is that? It's humility. Humility, which means that we view others as better or more important than ourselves. Pride says, I am more important than anybody else. Humility says, no. I am not better than anyone else, and I am not more important than anybody else. They are important. I want to meet their needs. We are not to have a high view of ourselves and a low view of others, but rather we are to have a low view of ourselves and a high view of others. Secondly, we must have what? Meekness. That is gentleness. Gentle. Being gentle with each other, which means that we're supposed to be kind to members who drive us crazy. A little slight chuckle there when you'd really like to laugh out loud, I know. There are members that at times probably get on your last nerve. Gentle. Being gentle with those people. Thirdly, we must be what? Forbearing. That is patient. We are to be patient, which means that we have to put up with members who frustrate us, members that annoy us, members that irritate us, members that aggravate us. We are to be forbearing. That is, we are to be patient with them. And then lastly, we are to love one another. This means we're supposed to accept and we're to unconditionally love the members of Canton Baptist Temple. Now, this doesn't mean that we tolerate sin. Please don't misunderstand what Paul is saying here. He's not saying that we should tolerate sin in the camp. But it does mean that we are to demonstrate a lot of grace with people. Grace. I have said this before, but let me say it again. We who have experienced God's amazing grace must exemplify that same grace to others. We ought to be the nicest and the most gracious people in the city of Canton. Why? Because we have experienced God's amazing grace. There's something wrong with Christians who talk about God's amazing grace, and yet they're the meanest people on planet Earth. Something's wrong. So if we have experienced that grace, we ought to exemplify that grace to others. I'm thinking about what some members have said to me. And again, the words lowliness, meekness, forbearing, and love are not responses that immediately come to my mind. Why is that? Because I don't feel like they deserve that. Right? That's the way we feel. Well, you don't deserve patience. You don't deserve love. You don't deserve all of that. But then I stop and I think about what Christ has done for me. Amen. Christ thought of me as somebody so important that He went to the cross and He willingly died for my sins. Amen. Right. I didn't deserve that. Amen. Would you agree? You didn't deserve that. Christ has been gentle. He's been gentle with me, even though I've not always been the Christian I should be. He's been gentle with me. He's been that good father that the choir sang about. I don't deserve that. Christ has been patient with me. When I'm sure I have frustrated Him, I have annoyed Him, I have irritated Him, I have aggravated Him with my thoughts and my actions over and over again. I don't deserve that. Christ loves me unconditionally, and He has demonstrated grace to me over and over and over again. I certainly don't deserve that. What Christ has personally done for each one of us puts it all into perspective, does it not? So now when we think about that member who gets on our nerves, or that member who said something to you in the hallway, or that, the list goes on, we are reminded of how Christ has treated us. And we say to ourselves, okay, I get it. I am to be Christ-like, not consumer-like. We live in a very consumer-driven culture. We go to restaurants and we're upset when they don't have what we have. I will never forget, I don't know who all was with me, but I was on a mission trip to Tanzania, and we went to a restaurant, and there was a rather large group, and we were going around the table ordering what we wanted for lunch. And so it came to me, and my turn, and I said, I would like that. And he said, oh, I'm sorry, we don't have that. I said, oh, well, okay. And I said, well, I'd like this then. And he said, oh, sorry, we don't have that either. I thought to myself, well, okay, third option, what about this? And he said, no, we don't have that either. So finally, out of frustration, I said, what do you have? It might be better for you to tell me what you have. Well, they only had certain amounts of meals, and some of the others had already ordered those things at the table, so they ran out of it. But that's that we're upset when we don't get what we want. What do you mean option number 1 is not available? What do you mean 2 and 3 and 4? We go to McDonald's and we've got 15 different combos that we can order. And we tell them if we don't want onions, or we don't want pickles, or we don't want this, and we want it this size, that's the generation, that's the culture. And we bring that mindset into church. God help us. And we come in here strutting along and we say, well, let me tell you what I want today. And I'm going to sit where I always sit. And they better sing the songs that we've always sung. And they better this, and they better that, and consumer, instead of Christ-like mindset. Remembering how Christ has treated us, we come in with a totally different mindset of how we're going to treat others.